The gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Loudermilk, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here today. I've got a lot of concerns. I'd like to continue on a little bit in the direction that my colleague from New Jersey was going on the number of rulemakings and how you have fast-tracked a lot of these, limiting public comment period. I've heard you say in here that you support congressional oversight, and you respect it, but from what we've seen, your actions are different than what your words are saying. You've shortcut a lot of the Administrative Procedures Act in your rulemaking. It appears that what you're wanting to do is hurry things along before Congress can have its due oversight. Excuse me. But what I want to talk about is something that I have not been in favor of, and I've opposed ever since it was proposed, which is the consolidated audit trail. I know Mr. Hill asked you some questions about that. First of all, I've never been supportive of it, but it's here, and we have to constrain it. I believe it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment, of right to privacy of individual investors. Let me put it in the words of the American Securities Association, and they described it of how the collection of this data violates the Fourth Amendment right to privacy because it forces every investor's financial information, personal information, and transaction history without any evidence of wrongdoing. And I want to quote in a letter that they have sent to this committee, both the ranking member and the chairman, is that tracking unsuspected and unsuspecting Americans' every move in hopes of finding unlawful activity is not consistent with the principles undergirding the Constitution, which is true. In fact, a lot of information that we see that regulators are forcing independent financial institutions to divulge about their investors or their bankers or those that do business with them. If law enforcement was trying to derive that information, it would require a search warrant. But yet the federal government will come in and they'll force that information out of these individuals. I spent a lot of time in the military dealing with security, information security. I had 30 years in the information technology sector. What I see in industry is a decentralization of information because of the risk of disclosure. Blockchain, many industries are going to blockchain because you're no longer centralizing it. When it's centralized, there's a one-stop shop for the bad players to come and get information about individuals. So my first question is, what do you believe in this? Is it easier to protect decentralized investor information held by thousands of firms, or do you feel it's more secure to centralize that in a database administered from Washington, D.C.? Which do you feel is more secure?
There's risk in both sectors. There's risk in the decentralized, there's risk in the centralized. It's really about the appropriate data security in that database. And this is a debate that technologists have quite often. The consolidated audit trail is important to help surveil the market, to oversee the markets. Data was being collected before.
So surveil the markets. So you're looking to use this as surveillance tool of the markets to enforce regulation, or what's the purpose of consolidated audit trail?
To help oversee the markets, to protect against fraud and manipulation, front-running, insider trading. Without
any just cause? Or, I mean, are you just randomly going to look? Maybe somebody's doing something wrong here and I've got all this information. But let me tell you, there is no one in the information systems industry that's worth their salt that will tell you it's more secure to have information at one point, one-stop shop. So if I'm a bad guy, I'm a foreign player, I've only got one spot to go to pull all this information. I'm going to put all my investment, all my technology in breaking your security to get that information versus thousands of places that I do not have the resources to do that. Centralizing is a security risk. Now, one of my questions here, will the consolidated audit trail and the case databases collect personal financial information of American retail investors? Are you going to collect information on individuals who are using platforms to invest? Are you going to collect that information?
So you're right, there's two databases. The case database will not have individual, their names, their birthdays, and so forth, but it has to have an identifier so that it can be tagged back to what the broker-dealer has.
What about
Gentleman's time's
consolidated
expired.
auto?
Gentleman's time expired. Perhaps you can answer Chair Gensler in writing.